Hello children, welcome to AIMS India's online classes. This is biology session, coordination, the linking system. So far we have completed the nervous control and chemical control and coordination in animals. Okay. So in today's class we are going to discuss about how the coordination takes place in the plants. As we know that plants are also living organisms, isn't it? Okay, before going to the class, so let us recall some known concepts. What is homeostasis? What is homeostasis? The capacity of an organism to adjust itself is known as homeostasis in simple words. Homeostasis in our body is achieved through nervous system and endocrine system. Okay, so here we studied about the endocrine glands in humans, their secretions, their functions. Okay, endocrinology, the science concerned with the structure and function of endocrine glands and diagnosis and the treatment of disorders of the endocrine system is called endocrinology, study of endocrine system. So we studied about the enzymes, isn't it? Enzymes in the nutrition chapter. Now hormones. Okay, so what is the difference between hormones and enzymes? Let us, in few minutes, let us discuss. The hormones can be proteins chemically. Hormones can be proteins, biogenic amines or steroids, whereas enzymes, all enzymes are proteins. Hormones are secreted at one place and act at another place on the target tissues, isn't it? Whereas enzymes, they are generally secreted and act at the same place or nearby places. Okay, hormones are used up during metabolism, whereas enzymes, they remain unaffected during reaction. That's why enzymes are called biocatalysts. Okay, they act as catalysts. They directly won't involve in the reaction, they support the chemical reaction. Next, hormones can speed up or check specific physiological process, whereas enzymes can only speed up the process. Hormones rate of action is slow, whereas enzymes action is very fast. Hormones are called information molecules, whereas enzymes are called biological molecules. Hormones are produced in endocrine glands, whereas the enzymes are produced in exocrine glands and are poured through ducts. Okay, example for hormones which we have studied, some example like insulin, thyroxine, adrenaline. Okay, example for the enzymes which we have studied, trypsin, pepsin, amylase, lipase. Okay children, so these are the main things which you have to remember. So okay children, are you ready? Today we are going to discuss another interesting, most exciting concept, that is coordination in plants, control mechanism in plants. So starts today's class with an activity. How do plants respond to stimuli? How do plants respond to stimuli? It's an interesting question. Touch the leaves of Mimosa pudica. Okay, so far we have studied how the control mechanism work in our body. Do plants also have the control system? let us find out by doing a small activity. So that is the Mimosa pudica plant is required for this activity. Okay, do this activity under the presence of your regular teacher. Okay, touch the leaves of Mimosa pudica. Attipatti. In regional language it is. So it is also called touch me not plant. And observe the response of leaves. Are they folding? If so, in which direction they are folding? Definitely they are folding. Try to give the examples of situations where you may see the plants responding to a certain stimulus. In general also, when you plant a plant in a shade, that plant try to grow towards sunlight. It produces the branches. Okay, and you generally observe some plants called twiners, weak stemmed plants. Okay, they take the support and climb. Okay, in order to expose their foliage to the sunlight, isn't it? So Mimosa pudica leaves have pad like swelling at the base. The Mimosa pudica leaves have the pad like swelling at the base. They are called pulvinous or pulvini base. So here the cells contain lot of water and large intercellular spaces. Large intercellular spaces. So you can see here the Mimosa pudica plant. The leaves, see they are folding. Okay, just like when you fold our hands. Okay, so here the leaf base of this Mimosa pudica, they are called pulvinous leaf base, the pad like structure. Due to the water pressure, the pulvini hold the leaf erect. So touch me not plant shows the movement to touch. Such movements are called the nastic movements. And which type of nastic movements? Thigmonastic movement. This is called thigmonasty, response to touch. When we touch the leaves, an electrical impulse is generated. This impulse acts on the plant hormone. Because of this hormone, water in the pulvini cells, which are closer to the leaf vein, migrate to other side of the leaves, so that it gets folded. Then the pulvini lost its firmness, hence the leaves become fold. So after 20 to 30 minutes, the water comes back, pulvini attains the firmness and the leaves become erect. So this is the mechanism, the water, movement of the water inside the pulvini cells. Both plants and animals react to various stimuli around. So you might have observed the tendrils of the plants growing towards the support. What I said, twiners. Can you imagine how it is happening? Would you think it is responding to a stimuli? Definitely. Okay, both plants and animals react to various stimuli around them, but the method of responding to stimuli is not similar in plants and animals. The higher animals respond to chemical stimuli because they have a nervous system and an endocrine system. Why the nervous system is not sufficient? Because there are several changes that also takes place in the external environment. Okay, so the chemical coordination is also required. The plants do not have a well defined nervous system or endocrine system. Though plants are living, there is no nervous system and endocrine system in the plants. They do have some mechanism of control by means of some chemicals or hormones. The hormones secreted by the plants, they are called phytohormones. The plants can sense the presence of stimuli such as light, heat, water, touch, pressure, chemicals, gravity, and so on, etc. The hormones present in the plants called phytohormones. Phyto means plant, plant hormones. The control responses towards the stimuli mentioned above, they are able to respond to the stimuli. Okay. Some major plant hormones and their actions we are going to discuss. Here the phytohormones coordinate the activities of the plant usually by controlling one or the other aspect of the growth of the plant. So the plant hormones are also called as growth substances. Some major plant hormones and their action, let us discuss. Okay, the major plant hormones and their action. It is very important to discuss the plant hormones. So epsic acid. Epsic acid is a plant hormone which influence the closing of stomata, and seed dormancy. Means this epsic acid is a growth inhibiting hormone actually, but it helps in closing of stomata during adverse conditions to prevent or to reduce the rate of transpiration. Okay. Next, auxin. Auxin is a growth promoting hormone. It influences the cell elongation and differentiation of shoots and roots. Okay, shoot elongation and root elongation. Cytokinins, another growth promoting hormone in the plants. It promotes cell division and the promotion of sprouting of lateral buds and delaying the aging in leaves and opening of stomata. Okay. Next, ethylene. Ethylene is a gaseous hormone. It is also growth inhibiting hormone. It influences the senescence and the ripening of fruit. It is also called fruit ripening hormone. Next, gibberellins. Gibberellins are growth promoting hormones. They are extracted from the fungi Gibberella fusicori. So they influence the germination of seeds and sprouting of buds, elongation of stems, stimulation of flowering, development of fruit, breaking the dormancy in seeds and buds. Dormancy means delay. Okay, they break the dormancy in seeds and buds. Gibberellins. Okay, these are the main hormones. There are 5 main hormones secreted in the plants: abscisic acid, auxins, cytokinins, gibberellins, and ethylene. Okay, this is the control mechanism in the plants. So take another activity. Take a glass jar and fill with soil. Sow a bean seed near the wall of the jar. This helps you to observe how roots and shoots are growing. This experiment helps us to understand the growth of roots and stem. After 4 to 5 days, you will notice that the seed germinates. Okay, so keep the jar under the sunlight. Observe how the roots and shoot grows. Then tilt the glass jar and keep the plant horizontally. Keep the plant horizontally. So observe the direction of root and shoot growth for more than a week. So you will see that the roots are growing towards the soil, inside the soil, and the stem try to come out of the soil and grows outside like this. A potted plant also you can see. When you tilt the pot, keep the plant horizontally. So here what happened, for example, a glass jar. We are growing in a glass jar or a pot. Here in the soil, the plant bean seed we kept. It germinates. You will clearly see through the transparent glass. Okay, during germination, 1 week of growth, it produces a root system and shoot system. So when you keep the jar horizontally, so the stem try to grow straight upward and the root grows downward. Okay. So observe the plant growing towards the light and how auxins act on bending of the stem to show a response to the sunlight. Okay. So here one observe the direction of the root and shoot growth for more than 1 week. So what does you observe? Does the shoot take a horizontal tilt after a week? Yes, it will tilt. Its direction is changed. So which side of the shoot may have grown more and which side of it less to bring about this effect? Okay, the right side in the plant we observe. Okay, observe the plant growing towards the light and how the auxins acts on bending of the stem to show the response to the sunlight. So more auxin collects on the light illuminated side of the stem. So the cells on that side grow faster. On opposite side, the cells grow slow to make the stem bend. So collect bending and straight portions of the tender stems and take the transverse section of both stems and observe them under microscope. So you will find certain chemical substances where the stem is bending towards the light. Okay, and that chemical substance concentration is less in the section of the stem on other side. Okay. So Charles Darwin and his son Francis Darwin, they performed some experiments on phototropism. Photo means light, tropism means movement. Movement towards the light or movement of the plant parts by the influence of light is called phototropism. Okay, they convert. So what they have done, they covered the terminal portion, means tip of the stem. We call it as coleoptile. Okay, with a cylindrical or a cylinder of metal foil. Okay, they covered the growing edge or growing tip of the stem by a metal foil. So exposed the plant to sunlight coming from the side. So the characteristic bending of the seedling did not occur because growing tip is obstructed from the sunlight by keeping a metal foil. So if the light was permitted to penetrate the cylinder, bending occurred normally. Okay, towards the light, that stem bend normally. So they stated that when seedlings are freely exposed to a lateral light, some influence is transmitted from upper to the lower part, causing the material to bend. Okay, they don't know about that chemical substance called auxin, but they named that substance as a factor or influence. Due to that influence, transmitted from the upper to the lower part, causing the material to bend. So this is the experiment. This shows the young stems bend towards the directional light. It is a normal. In the experiment 2, what they have done, they obstruct the light by covering with a tin foil, metal foil. Okay, if an opaque foil cup is placed over the tip, bending does not occur. Next, in the third experiment, what they have done, if an opaque foil collar is placed below the tip, they change the position of the opaque coil. So bending does not occur as usual. Okay, when they change the direction again, the bending occur. So this is the experiment. So by this experiment of the Darwin and the son Francis Darwin, there is certain influences are presented below the tip of the stem, which influence the bending of the stem tip towards the light, that is phototropism. Later, F.W. Wendt experimentally proved the existence of that chemical influence, and he named that as auxin. In 1926, the Dutch plant physiologist F.W. Wendt succeeded in separating this influence from the plant that produced it. Wendt cut off coleoptile tips from oat seedlings, and he placed the tips on a slice of agar, is a chemical substance, and left them for about an hour. Then what he has done, cut that agar into small blocks and placed a block on one side each stump of the decapitated plant. So first he cut off that coleoptile, he isolated that chemical substance and kept in the agar and cut those agar into blocks, and those small blocks he kept on the decapitated coleoptile. They were kept in the dark during the entire experiment. So within 1 hour, he observed a distinct bending away from the side on which the agar block was placed. Okay. So this is the experiment. So leaf, the oat kernel seed after germination, the young stem, it is called coleoptile. Cut the tip of the coleoptile and agar block is placed. Okay, the leaf that has been pulled a little from within coleoptile. See the coleoptile, the leaf that has been pulled a little. Okay. So agar block that had not been in contact with coleoptile tip produced either no bending or only a slight bending towards the side on which the block had been placed. Wendt interpreted these experiments as showing that the coleoptile tip exerted its effect by means of chemical stimulus rather than a physical stimulus such as an electrical impulse. This chemical stimulus came to be known as auxin. Okay, in Greek, auxin means to increase. So in this way, the first plant hormone auxin was discovered by F.W. Wendt. The Greek word auxin means to increase. Okay, so here this experiment. So agar blocks, he cut, decapitated the coleoptile, placed in the agar blocks, and again he observed when they replaced that agar block, again the movement he observed. Okay, means below the tip of the stem and tip of the root there are certain chemical substances which influence this tropism. Okay, the influencing the light, so it is called phototropism. There are two types of movements observed in the plants. One is tropic movement and the second one is nastic movement. The above experiments conducted by F.W. Wendt and the Charles Darwin and his son Francis show that the movement of individual parts of the plant is possible when they are subjected to external stimuli. This type of response is called tropism or tropic movement. Sometimes the direction of the stimuli, it determines the direction of movement. Sometimes the direction of movement may not be determined by the direction of a stimuli. So this type of response is called nastic movement. Nastic movement is also possible in the plants. Let us observe the growth of a creeper plant near window, a money plant or any creeper. The shoots of the creeper bend towards sunlight. Such type of response of a plant to light is called phototropism. Photo means light, tropism means movement, movement towards the light. We know that the roots always grow downwards into the soil. Okay, this means that the plant respond positively for gravitational force, geotropic movement, the movement towards the soil or gravitational force, it is called geotropic movement. So if you take the entire plant, the plant, there are two systems are present, root system and shoot system. The root system is positively geotropic and negatively phototropic, whereas shoot system is positively phototropic and negatively geotropic. Okay, they are opposite. This is called so towards the gravitational force movement is called geotropism. Towards the light movement is called as a phototropism. Okay. The tropic and nastic movements we are discussing. If we observe the plant which grows near a rock, near a window we have seen, now near a rock or wall side, you notice that all the roots are growing in one direction away from the rock or wall where water is available in the soil. So this type of response to water, it is called hydrotropism. Okay, so phototropism means movement towards light, geotropism means movement towards the soil, hydrotropism means movement towards the water or response to water stimulus. A very interesting thing in plants is movement of tendrils. Tendrils are the modifications of the leaf or shoot, leaf tendrils or shoot tendrils. So all plants show the positive response to phototropism, but in creepers like cucumber, bitter gourd, the stem is weak and thin. Hence the plant cannot grow erect. The tendrils play a vital role to make the plant erect. The tendrils are thin, thread-like growths on the leaves or stems of climbing plant. They grow towards the support and wind around them. Okay, so this type of response to make contact or touch is called thigmotropism. Okay, so the stimulus touch, when this tendril makes its contact with the support, immediately they twine over it and helps in climbing of the plant. This type of movement is called thigmotropism. Okay, if you taste the carpel of a flower. Okay, if you take out the flower and the ovary, the lower part of the flower, when you keep it in the mouth, you taste it sweet. So let us recall the butterflies fluttering on the flowers, or a hummingbird fluttering on the flowers. For that, for this nectar, we are calling it as nectar, the sweet substance which attracts those insects and the birds. The ripened stigma secretes a sugary substance. This chemical substance stimulates the pollen grains which fall on the stigma. The pollen grains respond to this stimulus as the pollen tubes grows to reach the ovule for fertilization. This type of response to chemicals is called chemotropism. See the variety of movements shown by the plants. Okay, phototropism, geotropism, hydrotropism, thigmotropism, chemotropism. Okay. So unequal distribution of the auxins affects the roots and the stem growth. So high concentration of the auxin stimulates stem growth and inhibit the root growth. Okay, children. So the plant hormones are usually growth effectors or inhibitors. Some growth effectors are auxins and gibberellins, while growth inhibitors are abscisic acid and ethylene. Okay, children. I hope you understood. Please read the textbook. Thank you for watching our video. Please subscribe our channel and press the bell icon for receiving latest updates.